So, hello and welcome, and welcome to the introduction of the Court of Atonement. I'm Amy Jo, just in case you're watching this on YouTube and you don't know who I am. And let me check something out here. I'm having technical difficulties, so there we go. Let's try again. I'm going to start again because I can edit. Look at that. So, do over. Hello and welcome to the introduction to the Court of Atonement class. I've kind of decided to have a little class here to bring everybody kind of up to speed with how simple this really is, how easy it is to use. My name is Amy Jo. I'm the person who channeled this. I didn't really write it. I just was the person who was desperate enough to ask the question of spirit of what can I do to help, and the words place them in a court of atonement came through, and I said, what's that mean? And when I went into the dictionary and looked up atonement, it was kind of like forgiveness. It was kind of like, and I kind of walked away more confused by it than I was before. I Googled it, and it was the same thing. And so I said, what does it mean, this atonement that you're asking? And he said, just look at the word. It's at one minute. It's bringing things back to wholeness. So I took them at their word. I never really struggle. I just try to understand as I move forward. And he said, place the family members in a court of atonement. And it's just this simple. Say I, and say your name. And he said first, middle, and last. So I said, I, Amy Josepha Richards, placed myself in a full court of atonement. And then he said, and I asked to bring in the souls of, and then you start saying all of the family members. And I asked to have our timelines evaluated and correct this information, correct all conflicts between us on the astral plane. Well, that's all I did. And I didn't think too much more about it. Now, the next time he suggested I do it, he said, listen in to what's happening. And so I listened in, and any of you who've read the booklet, we don't have to go into too much detail, but in my mind, it sounded like a court of law. It sounded like, hey, I charge you with this, I charge you with that. And then the next person says, how do you plead? And they said guilty, not guilty, or guilty with probable cause. And once they said guilty with probable cause, they got to come back and said, why, I don't even remember the term, but, what is your defense, basically? And they said, well, I wasn't even doing that they really misunderstood me. And once they heard each other's side, whoosh, they were saying, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry, I didn't see it that way. Well, another time when two people came against each other, they were saying, no, that's not it either. And then the other one was like, no, that's not, no, that's not. And then he said, okay, life reviews for both of you from the other person's perspective. And within a second, they were both saying, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry, I didn't see it that way. I'm so sorry. Both parties were apologizing to each other at the soul level, not, on the human level, but just in the soul level. Well, we didn't do any, like I said, I didn't think much more about it. I read it to my husband and said, this was some weird thing I did today. What do you think? And he was like, that's really interesting, because it was all about his family. He's like, that's really interesting, honey. And my reason for doing it was because it was my birthday and my phone had rang all day long with all of my family telling me happy birthday. And my husband had said, it's really sad that my family's so distant. My family's every bit as big as your family, but we're so distant that nobody calls each other on their birthday. So my birthday was April 6th. Well, then when July 25th rolled around, his phone rang with all of his brothers and sisters, and even his aunt called to wish him a happy birthday. And that was the second time that we went, oh, wait a minute. And he said, do you think that the change could be that Court of Atonement thing you said you did? And I went, yeah, it definitely could be. So the next time I'm down at my mom's house, and I did it for the family, and my mom says, "What did you do? Everybody's getting along so well." And I said, first was, she's like, "What did you do?" And I'm like, "I didn't do anything. I'm not guilty here." And she's like, "No, everybody's getting along so well. I think energetically you must have done something." And I said, "Oh, that's right. I put us in a Court of Atonement. It was only Court of Atonement at that time." And so she said, "Oh my gosh, write that down. I want to be able to use that. Write that down." So I wrote it down for her, just what I said to you, placed myself and this person in a full Court of Atonement, named any souls that we wanted, and I asked for our timelines to be evaluated and and healed on the astral plane. Now, a lot of people always ask, where's the astral plane? So I want to interrupt right there and say the astral plane is everywhere at once. It's the space, Abraham says, the space between if I can say this correctly, the nucleus and nucleus and the electron and the atom. So it's the space within the atom everywhere at once. So you don't have to go through this dimension, that dimension, this dimension. It's everywhere at once. The trick is to get the wording to be what it is that you're looking for. And, we'll go into that in a minute. So anyway, we called this Court of Atonement with my mom. She started doing it. And one night I'm laying in bed and I smell cigarette smoke. And my husband says, "Hey, I smell cigarette smoke." And he got up and walked around our trailer, making sure there was nobody here. And we're parked in the middle of the woods. There's nobody to be there. So then later that night I'm in bed and I smell smoke again. And I remember my friend Sage, who's in here, saying, "Ooh, I smell tobacco. I wonder what spirit wants my attention." And that was the first time I'd ever thought of it that way. And so I'm laying there and I thought, does somebody want my attention? And I get this uprising of energy. And just like you do when somebody says, is this your name, or is this whatever? When you feel that yes, I felt that yes. And I said, who's here? And then in my mind, with my eyes closed, I saw a photograph of my grandfather that I know very well because it sits on my parents' piano. So I'm very familiar with that picture and image of who my grandfather is. Other than that, he died when I was 11, and I don't have a clear memory of what he might have looked like if he stepped in front of me. So I saw in my mind this picture. And I went, "Oh, Grandpa Richards." Boom, the energy comes in a yes, and a happy feeling, yes. And I went, "Oh, wow, hello, I love you. I haven't heard from you since you died when I was 11. But, it was, is there something I can do for you kind of feeling?" And he said, and I just want to explain to demystify what psychic is, psychic and mediumship is. I heard in my thoughts, not in my ears, but in my thoughts, I thought, "Yes, please tell your father that I'm apologize for things not being better between us when he was a little boy. Tell him I asked to be pardoned for that, to please pardon me for that." And that was his wording. And so I just said, "Yes, I'll do that for you, okay," and I stepped away from it. Well, then I lay there thinking, how in the heck am I going to tell my dad that his dead dad came to me and told me this, because he's not really into what I'm doing right now. So I was a little concerned about calling Dad and giving him this weird message. And so I called Mom instead. She's much safer. And I called my mom and I said, "Mom, here's... I had some weird thing happen last night." I said, I told her about the smell and the smoke and everything, and I said, and then Grandpa said he wanted me to tell Dad that he apologized and to ask him to pardon him for it not being better. And my mom said, "Oh my gosh, I put your dad and his dad in a Court of Atonement last night." So as she was laying there putting him into a Court of Atonement, it had already happened, and he came instantly to me to deliver the message because he knew I could. And So I had like three thoughts at once. One, I wasn't crazy. My grandpa did show up. Two, the Court of Atonement really works. And three, I can teach people how to use it, and they can do it for themselves. Now, the only thing that we had at that time was the Court of Atonement, that simple statement. So all of this stuff is coming through with that very simplest statement. I place this person and that person's soul in a Court of Atonement. I ask to have their timelines analyzed and correct all conflicts between them on the astral plane. And that's it. So, you know, we've gone on to get more and more complicated with it as we've tried to make it work for different things. And I'm with you in this. I'm just a student, just like you. I just am the go-between between the other teacher, you know? So I'm in here learning and in the soup with you. And I go down the rabbit hole in these other directions myself and try to figure out things and then go, you know what, I think there's better ways. And I keep finding better and better ways. But now all of a sudden I've like come full circle and come back and go, you know, what's best is to go really right back to that first general statement and try to keep it as simple as possible. And so anyway, I'm just having us here with this group saying, it's this simple. And my dad says to tell you, I can't complicate it for you just so you can think now it'll work. It's simple. It really is this simple. And we just have to really get in there and try to use it and try to understand it. Now, the classes that I give are more ways to use it, more ways how to think beyond it, how to get in and really start to get things to, shift because we haven't thought of this way of using it. Hang on one second because all these things are flashing. Okay, other people are saying they can't hear anything, but I don't know what to say for them. Maybe if you guys know how to do it. Yeah, it was good. Log out and log back in. Anyhow, this, I'm trying to think if there's any kind of setting that I need to do in here. But I don't know. It's never done that. Well, anyhow, I want to get back to where we were. So here we had this big thing that happened with my grandfather, and we had this understanding. So my mom and I began to really play with it and use it, recognizing that she said, my mom asked, do you think it works for the souls that have passed on? And I got, yes. It's like, it's for them that we're doing this. It's for them, but doing it for them is doing it for us because it's releasing us from their mistakes. And I am not religious and I don't follow any doctrines here, but I do want to quote the Bible saying the sins of the father are passed to the son for 7 generations. So, and I think more. So when they're saying the sins of the father are passed to the son, the errors that our family made, they want to fix them. So they come to those who are alive on earth because only those who are on the earth plane can make these big changes. They can't change things for themselves. So they get you to change it and then it's retroactive. So we want to kind of look at okay, if we know that there are major conflicts between our mother and our grandmother, then by all means you want to put your mother and your grandmother. You state your name because that is your power source. This is your sacred phone number and it's amping up the power. It's like lightning is coming in, then you send it. So you always want to start with your name. So Amy Jo, and I like as much of my name as I can get because the more I'm saying it, the more I'm generating energy. So I'll sometimes say, I am Amy Josepha Richard. If I'm going to go work on a political issue, I am Amy Josepha Richard Zealous. I am Amy Josepha Richard Zealous. And I call a Court of Atonement on this. And then I, with this powerful place, send that energy out. So this is the kind of a way of thinking about it that you want to use yourself as the power generator that broadcasts the requests. And when you state their names are their sacred phone numbers. And I don't know if you've seen me say this or if it's in the book or whatever, but my son said to me, he said, well, when you're saying use as much of your name as you can, more of your name, he's like, it's like standing in the middle of a train station and have somebody yell Amy. I'll go, somebody calling me? I don't recognize anybody. Walk on. If they say, Amy Jo, I'll turn around. Is somebody calling me? If I don't see anything, I'll still walk on. If I hear Amy Jo Richards, I'm going, ooh, who wants me, right? If I hear Amy Josepha Richards Ellis, I'm like, uh-oh, what did I do? You know it's you. There's no doubt about it when it's your full name, right? So, you know, we've learned that even our parents knew that when you were in trouble, they used your full name. So kind of think of it that way. So you want to use your full name and as much of the name as you possibly can gather. If you're working with total strangers, it's still completely and totally doable. All you have to do is take a good focus on what you know of them and then like build a connection. So, you know, if you're thinking about your next door neighbor, if you go, okay, put my neighbor in the Court of Atonement, well, that's not good enough because how many neighbors do you have? You want to say, okay, I'm going to place my neighbor, the one who's having the difficulty with this and that, and then you start to kind of image them in your mind, and you're saying, okay, this is them. They're having this conflict with their other neighbor, and you try to make the connections as mentally clear as you possibly can, and then you send that information off, and it will help them. It definitely will help to do it for people you don't know. I do it for people walking by. I'll see a person with an amputated leg, and I'll say, I put that gentleman in a full Court of Atonement for soul recognition, because I figure something pretty traumatic has happened in his life and he might have gotten knocked out of his body. So I'll give him a little boost by saying this soul recognition is kind of like making sure that the soul is firmly inside the body. So I'm going to be having classes on what all these meanings, where I'm saying soul recognition. If I tried to explain to you what soul recognition actually is, it's the command for it is 4 pages long. I have really written it out and said, I connect this energy to this to make it be binding, so that when you make these calls of soul recognition, all you have to say is that, and spirit already knows what you mean. So I've made them, you know, I've written them out. Let me see if I say, okay, I won't say that because that's too complicated. People will go, hey, give me 1 second. If I say Disneyland, you all have your interpretation of what Disneyland looks like. If I ask you, let's go to Disneyland, you already know it's going to mean possibly an airline ticket for you, a hotel room stay. You know there's a whole bunch of things that are going to take place in order for you to go to Disneyland. So I've written these commands out with Abraham because I'm not out thinking spirit here. I have to get that role to come through me. So I always ask Abraham when I'm going to write. I don't ask Abraham for anything when I'm walking along and things are a problem between myself and my husband. I just do a Court of Atonement, and I don't ask Abraham. But when I'm asking on worldwide issue kind of things, what can we do here? I never pretend to think I know more than they do. Okay, help me word this, and I have them word it, so I channel that information. But like I said, it can be as much as 4 pages long, these commands. And so I've kind of decided that I'm going to give you like the behind the scenes discussions of those in other classes later on, but so that you know exactly what you're asking for, because the power in you to reach for the tool is to know what it means. It does say what soul recognition is in the Court of Atonement booklet. But I have gone back and re-souped it up to be even stronger. Every time I think of something that I can do to make the word full, for instance, means aunts, uncles, nieces, nephews, cousins, brothers, sisters, grandchildren, great-grandchildren, grandparents, great-grandparents. It's a big, the word full is a big encompassing thing, and it means a whole bunch of different power things. That's why we want to use the word full every time, is because it's helping to gather in as much stuff as we can. And then I say it again, the entirety of my family lineage, which means even more than I've stated in the word full. I want it to go as big as it can possibly go. So, because I hadn't thought of it at the time when I was writing the full Court of Atonement, and I don't want to go back and take another 4 hours, I just up the lingo a little bit and added to, I'm lazy. Face it, I'm lazy. I didn't want to do that. So we just added in, say, the entirety of my family lineage. Small price to pay. But what the next thing that I kind of want us to have, I want to maybe give you a little bit of thought process about, okay, what I've decided to do. I got to kind of get myself into my thoughts here. What I'd like you to do is to think about a puppy. I want you to think about just an adorable little, maybe a newborn puppy, just little wiggly guy. And even if you like cats better, let's look at a little tiny cute little thing and feel how good you can feel. Bring in a kitty if that's your favorite. But bring in just a cute little innocent thing and allow your energy to feel really clear. And now I want you to say, my mother. And if your energy dropped at all when you said my mother, then you say I, and you state your name. And so right now, let's see you do it. I, state your name. Place myself in a full Court of Atonement with my mother and state her full name. I asked to have our timelines analyzed and correct all conflicts between us on the astral plane. Now, I want you to think about a cute little puppy again. Beautiful sunny day, flowers are blooming, birds are singing, nice feeling. Say, my mother. Is it as big? Is it a biggest difference, or mine didn't drop because I've done all this work. But did you notice a shift between the way you felt before than you did right now after you said it? I'm looking for nods and whatever. So yeah. So now you can say, okay, did it still drop? Did anybody still have it? Did it drop the first time? Let me see a show of hands. Did it drop the first time you said my mother? I don't care. We all love our mothers. We all love our mothers. And yet those mothers can really make us mad. So there's always something that can still be improved upon. So let's try it again. And I want you to think about a beautiful sunny day. Get yourself relaxed. The wind is blowing. Birds are singing. Now say, my father. Did anybody ever notice it go down? And now say, I, state your name. Place myself in a full Court of Atonement with my father. And state his name. And I ask for our timelines to be evaluated. And correct the energy between us on the astral plane. correct all conflicts between us on the astral plane. Now, oh yeah, yawning, that's good. Stretch it, I see people. So now, I would like you to say, beautiful sunny day again. Just, just a happy time, feeling good. And now, say, my father. Does it drop as much as it did drop? No. Now, it might not clear it completely before you, between you, but I really like to, somebody's saying that it caused heart palpitations for them. Did those heart palpitations stop afterwards? I'll wait for her to kind of say something, or I'll look back in a minute. Okay, good. They did. They did stop. So anyway, this is the way you kind of want to use it, is to go back and be clearing between yourself and your family members. And if you know about in your lineage, if you know somebody who was really wronged in your family lineage, you go, oh my gosh, my grandfather used to, well, like right now, my grandfather was a bulldozer operator, and he had a contract to plow and create the level space for Disneyland. And then he got undermined, and somebody else undercut his bid illegally, and he lost that bid. So I, Amy Josepha Richards Ellis, placed my grandfather, Frank John Fitzpatrick, in a full Court of Atonement with Walt Disney and the gentleman who got the deal. And I asked to correct that energy on the astral plane. And I feel it in my stomach. I feel much better as I said that. My mom's in here. Did you feel that when I did that? You just nod or shake your head, because I can't see you anyway. Could you feel that? Yeah, okay. She's saying yes, she could. Okay, good. Because that was a big point of contention for him, because he lost that money. He was so unhappy about it that even though Disneyland became this great, wonderful place, he never stepped foot in it. And he spent thousands of dollars sending all of his grandchildren there, me included, and his wife, to have a great day. But he would not go, because he was so unhappy with that. So we also cleared up Walt Disney. And like I said, we don't even know if Walt Disney was at fault, or if it was one of his secretaries, or, somebody else that caused it. But my grandfather was definitely mad at Walt himself. So there you go. Yeah, he can now go to Disneyland. Thank you, Sage. So like I said, the whole reason of having us get together today was to have you kind of understand that there's a lot of uses that you can put this to, besides just working on yourself or an illness. You kind of want to work behind the scenes, because if the more you work on your ancestors, the less you have to have a soul contract to work on anything. Now, I've been working on soul contract and making a resolution question for it, a resolution dialogue for it. And when I get done, I'm going to do a class on it, and I'll have you all, I'll be reading to you what all is in behind that. But I don't want to hand it out to people, because it makes it seem like it's complicated. It makes it seem like you need to read what I wrote, but you don't. All you need to know is what's behind it, so that you say it, so that you'll ask for it. The simplicity of this thing is for it to be how, as quick and easy as we can get it. I've always been into faster and better. And my whole life, I could remember being a little kid and putting my mom's papers together to go walk her farm in real estate. And so I became a correlating machine, because I figured out if I put them up in order this way and I twisted my body here, I could just go this one, this one, this one, this one, this one, this one, click. I was always like, okay, that's so much better than one over here, this one over here, this one over here, this one over here, and now flake them all together and fire it in. I was always about streamlining and making things faster. And I guess that's really what my job is here, is to write these protocols out and then give them to you so you have the tools to go out and really do the work. So you don't, like I said, you don't have to say the things that I write. You just have to understand it's being covered. It really is well addressed. You can trust this call if you say, you know, I place this person in a full Court of Atonement for soul recognition. You should know what it is that you're asking for. So there will be, it's easier for me to do this in a class format with the replays, watching the replays, and really getting in and focusing what those tools are. But don't worry about it if you don't know and you don't have the money to go find out. Be a little kid with a light switch. They don't know why it works. They just know it works. So you don't really have to have this to take advantage of all these different things that we're saying. So when we're saying absorbed sibling resolution, then you know, as long as you have a basic understanding that what that means, then it will work for you just fine. But that's not something that you would reach for. You'd say, I don't know what that means, right? Until you get that background information. So while I have you in here, there might be people in here who have never heard that term. And let me see one second. I'm going to check in. I want to just touch on it for a moment, that, you know, what we found out with that absorbed sibling was that women have two ovaries. They ovulate two more often than not. And the medical society knows that about 30% of pregnancies they have witnessed start out as two. And that one of them generally dies off. And then the placenta it's so small, it just gets broken down and it gets used as fuel. So what we found was that there was some conflicting information within the person, because they feel like they're two people now because they've taken on another person. And so and that other sibling's DNA can be in their body. Now science is really catching up, and science is saying they absolutely are finding that humans have way more than just one DNA, and it's generally a brother or sister whose energy is in there. The one article I read was really recently was more talking about, they think that it's their own brother and sister's leftover DNA from the pregnancy before, and they're not figuring out what I've figured out. But I figured this out because my mother was struggling with the death of my sister, and we were trying to give her some peace. So we were doing this work on her, my best friend and I was in Puerto Rico and she was 4,000 miles away in California. And we started looking at my mother's energy, and I said, hey, I started to say, hey, my mom's energy's changing colors. She was a green color, and now she's blue, green, blue, green. And just as I opened my mouth to say it, my friend said, something's going on with your mom. She's changing colors. She's flashing from blue to green. And my jaw dropped open. My God, we're 4,000 miles apart, seeing the exact same thing. So she said, I'm just going to reach up and catch that. There's an energy in orbit around her, is what we figured out. And she goes, I'm just going to reach up and catch that energy. And she said, oh, it's like a wad of chewing gum, but it's like a little person all munched up. And my hair stood up because my mom had had a tumor removed that was hair and bone and teeth. And they had told her it had been her twin who had died, you know, while she was in the womb, and her body had absorbed it. So we were like, you know, oh my God, I know what this is. So that energy was in orbit around her. I have different ways of looking at, I look at, like, we have 3 life force connections: soul, spirit, and then the denied aspects, which would be the ghost. And so when a person transcends and dies, the soul drop kicks right into heaven, do not pass go. Woohoo! What a ride. Hello mama, hello brother, hello sister, a great day, potty. Everything's great. The soul always goes where the soul is supposed to be. Never ever worry about your family that their soul is in trouble, because it's not. It isn't. There can't be. It's not possible. Now, when it gets a little tricky is the spirit, which is the conscious mind of the person. This is what gives them their fire and their juice. This energy can stick around, not an earthbound spirit, still perfectly capable of being wherever it wants to be, and it comes and goes and stays within our energy field, giving love to all of us. But they do have more emotional ups and downs than the soul does, but the soul is still very much connected to it. Now then, there's the third connection, which is, I'm going to just use the word ghost. Abraham uses the word denied aspects. And he uses the word denied aspects because it's plural. He is like, they're fragmented little pieces of memory, and they flash into being when things of similar nature happen. So it's kind of like, I like to think of it as, you're in your, let's think about a SD card for your phone. I just put a 128 gigabyte SD card, the size, you know, of my little finger, in my phone. It's capable of holding thousands of full-length movies. That's how small this stuff is, right? There's this dust particles, basically, that when enough pressure, now think about that SD card, it's in there. I like the movie You Got Mail, right? So I open up my phone and I put pressure on the icon that says You Got Mail, and boom, You Got Mail comes to life, and this whole movie is playing. Well, our emotions are this thing that puts pressure on the field that makes those memories come to life. So when we have like 3 emotions together, it's like a combination lock, and all of our ancestors' garbage comes to life, and you'll end up, when you see a ghost, you're seeing what Abraham's calling a denied aspect, a part of the person that they didn't like, an unhealed hurt, a wrong that never got righted, or in the case of the house I'm looking at buying, a house that never got finished, and lots of unfinished business where the man would like to have finished it, so his ghost might harmlessly hover around there and be activated when I'm working on the house. It isn't anything that you should be scared of. You're not probably going to see it or be aware of it, but its energy is in your energy field, and it can slow you down. It can make you feel tired. So the more of these courts of atonement that we call asking for soul recognition says, take a look at the soul, the spirit, and those denied aspects. You cannot do it for a living person. I can say, Amy Josepha Richards Ellis, placed the gentleman who built that house, if I had his name, into a full court of atonement with all of his denied aspects, and have him correct those on the astral plane. I can say that for a dead guy, but because of free will, I cannot say it here. So they said, say soul recognition, and then the spirit of the person, the soul of the person, can take a look at all that stuff, and they can go, hey, I'm willing to pick up this or this and this and this and this, but I'm leaving those on the table. So you can't make that kind of, so that you can't make certain commands. You could make them. Go right ahead and ask. It's just not going to do anything. No harm, no foul. Feel free to ask, but it's a breach of free will, so it's not gonna help. So they said the best thing you can do is ask for soul recognition, which means now they have to go look at it and see what all they are. And by the way, there's no time there, so it happens. It's over. There's no time. It didn't even take as long for my fingers to click as it takes for this to take place, because there is no time. We can't comprehend it because we're a time linear based location. We think very much in time. So anyhow, like I said, this is information that I don't think you're going to find it from anybody else but me. I went online and I Googled 3 souls for every body, and what I found was that the Hunas in Hawaii believe it, that they believe in a dark soul, a light soul, and a gray soul, and that all 3 of them need to be connected to the body. And when a person dies, if they're still lingering nearby, you can put them back in the body and they will come back to life. So that's a very interesting thing and a great story, which I think is in one of the books. The other thing that I found was that, I think I'm going to say this right, I think that Plato was the one that said that there were 3 souls to every body, and he called it, it's like, I remember that ghost was appetite. So it was, let me see, what was it? The soul, I'm sorry, I can't quote it. Now, you usually can, but I'll leave it at that. You can look up what Plato had to say about it, but he said that there were 3, and it was basically the soul, the spirit, and the appetite. So that piece of information will help you understand why it's super important to go back and work on your lineage, because that debris is hanging around and it's coming downstream to its to the next level down, over and over. Unfinished hurts, and the other big one is unrequited love. So if you can put people in a full Court of Atonement for unrequited, to correct unrequited love, that can help them. And that would be a simple thing as saying, I, Amy Josepha Richards Ellis, place, can't think of anybody to say, but place my great uncle John Smith in a full Court of Atonement to correct unrequited love. And that's it. Like I said, you don't have to really think these things out all that much. You just say, oh, this is what is it I want? What am I looking for? The word correct is, when you're working with unrequited love, is a negative, so you want to say correct. And when you're working with, I like to work with a positive with the same words and say, like, I, Amy Josepha Richards Ellis, place myself right now behind with me. I state your name. Come on, you can do this. You're all sitting there like bumps on the log. Come on and do it with me. I state your name. Place myself in a full Court of Atonement with love. I ask to correct all conflicts between us on the astral plane. And I feel it opening up. Did you guys, any of you notice anything in there? So now, so you can see that you can, even if you're stating a positive, if you put those make those conflicts between us. So I say your name again, I place myself in a full Court of Atonement with happiness. I ask to correct all conflicts between us on the astral plane. There, I'm feeling it moving. Anybody notice anything there? I'll tell you one thing, you're all smiling a little more. So it really is, a fun tool that you can do for yourself. You don't have to create any pains or anything like that. You just kind of bring up what it is you're looking for. But when you do know that you're suffering, put that in that Court of Atonement. Your name in the first place, what the problem is, ask it to be corrected on the astral plane. So, like I said, it's real simple. We just really want to complicate things. We really do. We want it to be way more complicated than this. And like I said, it's because we just don't believe that it could possibly be as simple as we can make it. So I think that's about it for today's class. I'm trying to see if there's any, I'd like to maybe have us leave by doing maybe a small meditation to get centered, because clearing your energy is one of the most important things you can do. And I'm sure you could say, like I'll do this all the time and say, say it right now, I state your name, place myself in a full Court of Atonement with myself. For the purpose of keeping my energy clear. I ask to correct all conflicts between us on the astral plane. It feels okay there. At first it was like it went a little bit and then the energy kind of stuck, and now I'm feeling it moving. It was like it went and then it paused. It gave me this pause. It was almost like the energy was stretching. I was like, did I do something wrong? Do I need to correct that? But you can feel them shifting, and if it doesn't shift, go at it a little different. What else? So we did mom and dad, but you can go back and pick up all 4 of your grandparents and do them one at a time. And then you can pick up all of your, definitely always start with a spouse and correct all conflicts between you and the spouse. Okay, right now, I see these people laughing going, ooh, didn't think of that. Or they're all like, oh my gosh, I've done him so many times. So, real quick, I state your name. Place myself in a full Court of Atonement with my spouse or significant other or ex in a full Court of Atonement. And I ask to correct all conflicts between us on the astral plane. Now, if you feel like it didn't feel better to do it, if you feel like the tension got a little tighter, then you need to work with the unforgiveness, that your unwillingness to forgive. So you want to take a look at that and say, oh, okay, and state your name. We might as well do it. Place myself in a full Court of Atonement with myself and being willing to forgive. I asked to have my timeline evaluated and correct all conflicts between us on the astral plane. I see all these people yawning. All right. So that's it, and that's a wrap for today. But thank you all for coming in and joining me. There's a way of typing in a message real quick. I'll take 2 questions, so make them good, whoever wants to have it. People are asking, can they listen to the recording later? Yes, I'm going to put it out. I'll try to edit it this afternoon, get it uploading. I'm trying to figure out ways to make it faster, but you may not get it until tomorrow. So, but I'm trying to get it. So, like I said, Okay. Okay, so they're saying, how can we heal fatigue? The healing is a byproduct of all of your illnesses are a byproduct of the problems and the mental focus that you have in your life. When you start working on cleaning your energy using the Court of Atonement this way, being healthy is the byproduct of it. It's clearing it. Again, self-sabotage and martyrdom, somebody's asking. Again, bad dialogue, internal dialogues. Work on the things you're saying to yourself and stop it. Go join the Stop It program and stop doing that, because we self-sabotage because of the dialogue. It's like we get really close to having something happen, and then we're like saying in our head, what if it doesn't go? What if we can't do it? What if I can't make the payments? What if? Shut up. Stop. Just place yourself in a Court of Atonement with those dialogues, So anyway, that's the thing. How do you heal trauma? That's a new one that I have out, and we'll have to do, just say to yourself, I place myself in a full Court of Atonement for traumatic stress resolution. So I place myself or them in a full Court of Atonement for the purpose of traumatic stress resolution. So that's one of the speed dial calls that you're going to want to be made aware of, and I'm doing those in these classes. And then I'm going to make a compiled $5 booklet again for the people that can't come into these classes. But so many people are trying to become practitioners, these classes have to be here, so I'm seeing what I'm getting. Am I getting the results? Okay, somebody's asking about recuperating from a foot operation. Put yourself in a full Court of Atonement with your foot and ask to clear all conflict between you on the astral plane. Because that'll cover the operation too. And it'll cover the cause. So my mom is saying, tell them that the Stop It program is a free course. It's on the website. The courtofatonement.com says Stop It up there. A lot of you have taken it. It's a 21-day program, and it's just talking about the things we say to ourselves that cause that sabotage. I call them self-fulfilling prophecies. I can't do it. I'm not strong enough. All these things that we're saying, shut up. Talk about gratitude, what it is that you have, how thankful you are, and get out of those petty things that we say. Be kind to ourselves. Be kind to our nervous systems. And for me, I'm so nervous system driven because I feel the energy coming off of everything. Yesterday we went to see a house, and when I went in to see the house, the lady had almost like her own private library. There were books everywhere, and I couldn't even walk in the room because the energy coming off of those books were in such chaos, I guess. Most of us, we have like our shelf of healing books, right? We've got our healing books here. These are my Louis L'Amour's over there. Then I have my gardening books are here, and we kind of have them in some semblance of order. So we feel that energy coming and that they need to be together. So those of us that are a little bit sensitive, we put things together. I walked into this house and she's got 6,000 books, and they're laying this way and that way and falling off the shelves, and I'm just like, I'm stopped in the door and I don't know what it is. Like, what's going on? What's wrong with this house? And then all of a sudden I realized it was the books. So I just strengthened my own boundaries. But I had my boundaries down so that I could feel any problems in the house with wiring or plumbing or whatever. So I made myself vulnerable. But then I realized, okay, Abraham, turn on and tell me what's going on, because I can't walk in this house without my boundaries on. I just can't. So anyway, there's no souls trapped. There are no souls trapped. There's no such thing. Now, there might be a lot of pissed off ghosts that happened, and they're not trapped souls. Their soul knows where they are. They know that needs to be resolved. So you can say, she's saying, can we do something for the souls that are trapped after 9/11? So you would say, okay, and state your name, Amy Josepha Richard Zealous, ask for soul recognition at the site of 9/11. And ask all the souls who died, place them in a full Court of Atonement for soul recognition. And I asked for soul recognition of all of the family members who had loved ones die at the sites in 9/11. Yes. So you might want to say it with me, because that's a pretty powerful one to do. So I state your name, place all of the people who died in 9/11 and the entirety of their family and loved ones. Along with all of the rescue teams and all of their families, into a full Court of Atonement for soul recognition. And now I ask for traumatic stress resolution. For everyone involved. So, anybody feel anything on that? Yeah. We picked up a few more because I'd already said it. So I figured let's go back and pick up more people, the loved ones, because when you're doing family lineage, it may or may not grab people who just knew them at a distance. Somebody's asking, how do I get to the point where I don't have to say truth before I clear things? I keep getting misled. You never get to stop that. I'm so sorry. You have to clear your energy, and you have to clear it daily. But the Building Better Boundaries protocol can assist in clearing your energy. I wake up in the morning and I say, I am Amy Josepha Richard Zealous, and only Amy Josepha Richard Zealous. Only those who come from the light are allowed in my space. That moves that. And then there was this whole thing that we were saying for building better boundaries. So now I just say, I place myself, Amy Josepha Richard Zealous, in a full Court of Atonement with building better boundaries and developing healthy boundaries. And once I say those two things, then that brings all my energy back to center, and that sets it off. But I'm a healer, and I'm supposed to be healing people, so my timeline only those boundaries only last about 7 hours. So then I have to do it again. When we're healers, we have to kind of let our guard down so that the energy can come in that we know we need to heal. So I hope that I'm speaking that correctly. It feels like I am. My mentor told me that I needed to stop whining and just get in there and demand that they keep those shields on at all times. And yet I listened to my guide, who said, no, that's not quite the case. So anyway, I just want to say thank you all for coming, and I hope that this gave you a little bit of an idea of how you can use it, how simple it really is. And and I hope that you'll join me in some of the other classes that I'm having. They go very much like this, but we usually end up doing a meditation, and then I teach some new crazy thing that Abraham's brought forward and how we can use the Court of Atonement in a different fashion. So thank you all very much for being with me. Love to all. Bye-bye. And I said that again before I hit the button because there's 2 times. So see ya. Bye.